And we're live. All right. So today I have Nathan Price with me from the U.S. Air Force Wildfire Services. I'm going to give him the opportunity to talk about stuff that he's got going on. Obviously, you can see in the background where he works. I see the Eglin Air Force Base posters behind you.
Yep.
So, yeah, Nathan's up at Eglin, and, we were just up there. Geez, how long? I lose track of time now during this quarantine stuff, but probably no more than several months ago, no more than a few months ago. Maybe January.
Yeah, I'd have to look back. I forgot to.
I have no clue. But we were just up there talking about some of the stuff that Nathan and his team are going to begin or scale up using drones to aid in some of the prescribed burn work that they're doing, some of the wildfire monitoring. 464,000 acres at Eglin.
That's correct. Yep.
I don't know how I remembered that, but I don't remember when I went up there.
Yeah, it's
So you guys are burning half a million acres. How long does it take you to cycle through all of that?
We try to burn on average 90,000 acres a year. So yeah, it's usually on a 3 to 4 year rotation, depending on weather and mission tempo here.
Okay. So if you don't mind, Nathan, give a quick background on who you are, what brought you to Eglin, what brought you to the wildfire services at all, and kind of what a day in your life looks like.
Okay, well, it should be pretty simple. I'm a simple guy. So I've been working here at Eglin full time for 13 years now, but I've been involved since about 96 doing volunteer work and working for other agencies, some nonprofit, and like I worked for the Nature Conservancy for a little while too, but helping out with Eglin. My interest grew in wildland fire actually as a youth. My father did this job here at Eglin as one of the first original firefighters here. And as he was an open-minded guy, very progressive, and asked a lot of questions to people who knew what they were doing, and loved to have researchers come in. And so the more interest he had, and he could explain it to me, the science world of it, so it got me more interested in it. It's a fascinating tool to use, and it's an interesting process to go through with it.
Around when did you start implementing the use of drone technology to aid in some of the ConOps? Around what year?
So actually, it was just last year that we got approved to use it, and it was a short run because the platform I was approved to use, which was a DJI, it's got banned by all DoD.
Yep.
I don't need to go into why, but
right.
So, but it was frustrating because for over 10 years, like I said, I've been here for 13, and 10 of those years we've been begging for one, just asking for one. And there's a lot of, we're not sure what you do. We're not sure why you would need one. So we just kind of got pushed off to the side. So it was a real breakthrough. Just a couple of years ago, I was able to go through the training that the Air Force was requiring. And since then has relaxed that training, and it seems to be more comfortable using drones. But unfortunately, with this quarantine, I haven't been able to go forward with it since then, and we're still stuck with funding to buy one of yours.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about some of the differences in what the ConOps would look like with and without. So take me back to what, let's just say 2012. So well before the introduction of the technology into the workflow. Typical run-of-the-mill, you're going to burn this section today. How many men does it take? How many hours in the day, and that sort of thing. And then what it would look like, let's just say in 2021, with the aid of kind of the eye in the sky type of the value created with the aircraft versus what the ConOps look like without.
Right. Well, there's two parts of this, like two literally animals to this. So we have a prescribed burn world, and then we have the wildfire side of it. The prescribed burn it's mostly planned, or should be planned, and executed according to that plan, as well as the climates and the environments. And using drone technology in a planned event like that, it would decrease the need for us to put firefighters at risk due to smoke inhalation and exposure to heat
Mm-hmm.
on what we call the hot fire line, where it's backing to start the fire, the consumption of fuels, and which is the most critical part of the burn, actually. Once we get that established, we can start ramping up our tempo and burning how we feel we need to burn to meet our objectives. But being able to use a drone in that situation, it would allow us to move across a fire line, depending on the kind of camera that we've got implemented, and actually look for areas that are threatening to escape or have escaped our line without putting people there until we need them. It also could patrol a line that we can't get people down to, such as a creek. And I don't know if you guys ever walk in the woods at any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
The creeks out in the woods are not like they are in the park. It is a very thick wooded vegetation. It's almost impenetrable to walk through, but the fire can creep underneath the vegetation. And so we just need to make sure that the water held it, that it stopped where it needed to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be another value to that, as well as if we had the ability to track resources. We have our firefighters are inside the burn units as well as on the perimeter of the burn units. And we also use a helicopter at times. So being able to monitor the resources and knowing where they are for accountability and, just to increase our safety awareness would be invaluable to us.
I didn't know the fire could go under the creek. That's pretty cool.
It doesn't go under the creek. The vegetation next to the creek, it'll creep underneath.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it would go there, but it does.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So I know that when we were up there, we talked about sort of what we hit on what you just mentioned in terms of taking boots off the ground and replacing them with somebody watching from a safer distance. What has sort of been, in your opinion, the shift of mindset? But and you briefly hit on this, but sort of the shift in mindset, and what do you think has been the contributing factors to that? Between what we see that you applied for the purchase of a DJI aircraft. Why do you need it? To today, how many pilots do you guys have now? I know besides you.
It's just me right now.
You right now, okay. What is the plan there? Are you being tasked to kind of provide a roadmap on what it would look like at scale?
Well, I haven't gotten a lot of word back. This whole COVID-19 thing has really put us on pause. We've got a lot of other bigger issues going on across the nation. So little old me has to wait, but good things are in store, I believe. The last word I got was our leadership was looking at agreeing on the right type of platform and going with a bulk purchase. So that was very encouraging to me. But as far as implementing a technology like that, we can implement it almost every day, almost every incident. What I didn't get to was the wildfire portion of it, the unplanned events. That's where, I could have used it this morning. In fact, I got called out to what we thought may have been a wildfire on one of our test ranges that are scattered with unexploded ordnance. We're not allowed to be anywhere near it. So I could see a little puff of smoke, but it's way off in the distance, and being able to actually get a drone up and over to it and get eyes on it would have been incredible. It would have saved me a ton of time.
Right.
But I don't know if that answered your question, but
no, that does. That definitely does. And over time, I'm expecting I know that at some point we'd like to get out to San Antonio and have a meeting with the Civil Engineering Center out there and talk about what the opportunities are like, not just at Eglin. And there's 464,000 acres of opportunity at Eglin. There's 464,000 reasons why, but seeing what it would look like across the U.S. and all the bases that have similar workflows for not just you. And what excites me is the opportunity to take a proof of concept program, like potentially to be spooled up at Eglin, and take that and implement it in, across the country, where applicable, of course.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not every base has the same issues. So I think that's going to be the fun part for, at least for you and your team, is to come up with a practical solution for anybody that needs one. Not everybody's as big as we are, and not everybody has as many fires, but there's always a use for a drone at some point.
So a question for you now, how has and you hit on this a little bit already, but how has the impact of the recent coronavirus outbreak impacted what you guys do daily? Has it at all? Sort of what's been the change besides you're working from home a little bit now, from time to time? What has sort of been the change between what life looked like 3 months ago versus the reality that we live in now?
Yeah, it was a huge stop, actually. In January, we really start ramping up our prescribed burn program. I mean, we get the majority of our 90,000 acres the first 3 months of the year, and it, put a total stop to it. So we're behind on acreage, but it's not something anybody could have prevented or foreseen. So yeah, our manpower is at minimal at best any day here at the office for what we call IA, or response team to a wildfire, and there's absolutely no prescribed burning going on. I don't think we could have done anything about that. But
how have you been spending some of the time? Because obviously now I know a lot of folks are using the time now to get either recertified, certified on different things. Like they might take, for example, a thermography course or something. They're kind of taking the time where they're sitting in their recliner at home and furthering their knowledge on aspects of the industry that they weren't privy to before. Now that they got some extra time on their hands, I'm wondering if you've experienced any of that, and if you have dove into other aspects of knowledge that could help you do your job or a future job in the same role better. I mean, if you kind of dove into anything else, go ahead and expand on that.
Actually, it's not. I wouldn't say it's any more than we normally do. Whether it's myself or one of my coworkers, we're constantly sharing ideas, articles that we see. I guess there is probably more reading going on than there's ever been in our crew. But yeah, we're always sharing a link. Lessons learned is a big one. If somebody did have an incident with a near, we call it near miss, they write up a report on it. It's always good to read, especially when it's something that we may end up doing on a regular basis. But I can't, I don't know if I could be real specific as far as what I have been diving into. It's been a lot of reading on my part. And
okay, so you said lessons learned. Let's go to because obviously one of the things that I thought was super cool about and why I wanted to interview you is you're not what quote unquote a drone guy that got a job with the Air Force doing this stuff. You know what I mean?
Nope.
Like, so you're somebody that saw the value and wanted and are striving to implement the technology. Let's talk about lessons learned throughout when you got the aircraft for the first time ever and started putting it up there and looking around versus where you sit today, what you've learned in that gap, in that time period.
Okay. So if we want to go with technology and kind of what our capabilities are looking like. So in order to be approved, I had to go through a lot of red tape. The only platform that I was allowed to have was that DJI. It's a Phantom Pro 4.
Wasn't it stripped? It was stripped out of a lot of things, right?
The original software, the DJI software, was taken out. It was another software the Air Force designed. Just it was just manual use. It was an expensive toy at that point. Of course, manufacturer says you can get up to 3 to 4 miles, depending on the antenna strength, as far as travel distance from the remote to the platform. And some of the challenges I was finding, because I knew I was on flat ground, I don't have the luxury of being in an open field, that's 4 miles wide. So I'm on flat ground underneath canopy, and that's that's always our critical issue, is that our line of sight is very, very limited, to what, the woods are like, basically. So I have to lift off, usually on a road that's about 8 feet wide, find a hole in the canopy that's wide enough for the aircraft to go up safely, and then take it off in the direction I see the smoke, or the direction I need it to go to monitor a fire line. But the limitations I was having was, I think at most I got 3,000 feet away from myself before the return to home button occurred, and it was just, that was a huge disappointment in my mind. Is it really limited me on where I could go and how long I could have it out before I needed to find somewhere else to reset everything. Just myself, free stage, I guess, what I was trying to say. But that's why we're excited about, having you guys, team up with us. I think that you're the solution to a lot of my problems here.
Appreciate that. So let's
No pressure.
segue that into Nathan Price's wish list for for an aircraft to aid in both the prescribed burn, however you choose, and the wildfire response. Give me your wish in terms of endurance, range, payload capacity, what you want to see, how you want to see, what kind of data you want to actually capture, and how long you want to be up there flying around, and that sort of thing. Let's walk me through your wish list. Don't just say our stuff. Say exactly what
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, the wish list started off with flight time. That was something I couldn't get over, was the 15 to 20 minutes, depending on weather. That just doesn't cut it. Our events last over hours and hours, sometimes days, and 20 minutes just as on a burn unit. Some of our burn units are miles of road by miles of road by miles of creek, and it takes a long time. So flight time was my biggest thing. I wanted something, that was at least an hour, and again, this is when I first started diving into it. So I thought an hour was realistic. I had limited my wish list down to a quadcopter too, which I ended up changing that mindset to a fixed wing due to some other guys down at Hurlburt Field, which is the Air Force Special Operations Command. They kind of keep me in on some small fixed wing that they actually sampled for me one day and showed me the value of it and how easy it is to fly and more efficient. So you get that flight time I was looking for. Cameras was a big thing, a thermal camera or infrared, as well as a color camera. That's huge. To be able to see through the smoke, through the canopy, to the ground for something that's hot, or, not just for the fire, but even if it's a person in distress, being able to do that. That was a huge factor in my mind.
Video transmission?
Yeah, I mean, I can go on for days for this. So yeah, live feed is invaluable. Communication is the biggest, I think the biggest factor in our business. If we can't communicate, whether it's by description, by using the same language, or by being able to show someone what else is going on to a team that we may have over a dozen people on this fire, on any fire, not being able to communicate with them can cause all kinds of issues, whether it's controlling it or putting somebody in the wrong spot at the wrong time and threatening their life. So being able to have a live feed, not just for the operator, but for the person who's making the decisions and is responsible for the accountability of the rest of the crew, that would be huge for us, I believe. It would really cut down on the amount of time it takes for me to talk to somebody else who talks to somebody else who finally gets the message to the person it needs to be. So that speed and that efficiency is what I was really looking for as well.
Gotcha. Perfect. No, that's It's all good stuff, and a lot of that hits on the basis and the meat and potatoes of what we talked about up there in Pensacola. So um, I'll close it out now. That trip to Pensacola was awesome. Love McGuire's Pub.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right there, kind of by the beach area. Wasn't far from our hotel, but really cool. Like over $1 million in singles hanging from the ceiling there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
anyway, look forward to everything we're going to be doing in the future, hopefully. And if anybody that's listening to this at any point in time has any questions for myself or Nathan, just reach out, and we'll take care of those at a separate time. So, Nathan, I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much for the time. If you have
Thanks, Kyle.
if you have anything else that you want to say, speak now or forever hold your peace. But you answered all my questions, so I will get out of your hair.
No, I appreciate it. I'm a man of few words, so yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good one.